to sell the house and then deal with the proceeds with each other.
It wasn't supposed to be nothing getting back.
No. Listen to my question. Cash.
It was through Cash App.
Cash App.
It's an application on your phone where you can just send money back and forth.
Right at the start of the case, Judge Judy's already disappointed because neither of these people seem to have any real idea about the rules of Judge Judy's courtroom.
The facts in the case are not unusual. They come from people who have not clearly been watching my program for the last 22 years because it seems that the two of you lived together without benefit of marriage for a long time.
Both parties were in a relationship for many years, and throughout, the defendant was living with the plaintiff in his house. They decided to take their relationship to the next level when he wanted to add her name to the deed of the house that he purchased with all of his money. He gave the defendant $30,000 to buy all kinds of stuff for the house like furniture and all the other things of the sort. But unfortunately, the hammer hit their relationship and they split up, and then the struggle started.
So instead, the two of you resorted to filing orders of protection against each other.
Yes, ma'am.
Which was ridiculous because the first thing an order of protection is supposed to do is really protect people, and neither one of you was being threatened.
They got the law involved eventually, but by then the defendant's entitlement had set in and she's made it her mission to take the house from him.
Out of the house. Don't say no.
That's right.
I'm telling you, yes. You filed for an order of protection, and he was ultimately put out of the house and was out of the house for a while. He filed an order of protection against you.
He filed one against me first, ma'am, and it didn't go through, okay? He's lying again.
With the defendant being quiet for so long in the courtroom, you'll assume she was able to comfort herself well to avoid embarrassing herself and her ex. It's quite surprising to see that the defendant might have one of the most backwards attitudes in a human adult in a civilized society ever. The entitlement is through the freaking roof.
When I caught my daughter in the bedroom behind the door, when I put laundry in the washer that was downstairs where his room is, when he threatened to hang me and burn me alive in the basement.
The fact that she knowingly and consciously got an order of protection against him to send him out of his own house that he bought with his own money already speaks volumes, but her attitude just makes it way worse.
Many years, he got that settlement after 3 days on a job, okay, ma'am?
Miss Emmer, his settlement, his money. All I'm telling you is that
10
the only
years
thing
of living off me.
She's extremely infuriating. It's so disgusting that she's justifying all she did to the man by saying she went house shopping with him. What do you even call that attitude? It's just gross, and it's cringe, and it's unfair.
My daughter behind the closed door.
Get out. Get out of my courtroom.
Fine.
Now.
Your
case is dismissed. Get out.
Okay.
Your counterclaim is dismissed. Get out.
She absolutely deserved that. Doesn't change anything, but she's got to be aware that what she's doing isn't right. She's on a high because she's aware there's nothing that he can do about it. It's really an unfortunate situation.
Things because she says that the $30,000 was a gift.
No, ma'am.
The $30,000 was a gift, and therefore anything she purchased with it belongs to her. So all of the appliances and furnishings for the house belong to her.
So he really put up with her attitude for 9 years? That's gotta take a lot to finally break free of a person like that. She legitimately called $30,000 a gift. A gift! That is just freaking delusional.
That's for a whole other venue. All I can tell you is this, sir. I can't help you. I suggest you start acting civilly with each other. I can't force her to sign a quitclaim deed to property, but I can't tell you that I've dismissed her case.
It's quite unfortunate that the man's got to go through all that, all by having a relationship with a dubious person. There's one mistake that he's going to regret for life, and that's this one. A lady loans her friend some money as a friendly gesture, but when they had a falling out, he refused to pay back. She convinces him to get the money from him, and he sues her for slander and assault.
What were you going through?
Financial.
Well, tell me.
I was broke, and I asked her for a little help.
Okay. What did you say to her?
I don't remember what I exactly
Well, try.
said.
It wasn't that long ago. That's why we're here.
He asked her for help because he was broke, and she decided to help him. A few weeks later, he got the money.
And where were you?
She had called me and said meet up with her, and we met up.
Where?
On Arden.
What is that?
Arden Street in Sacramento.
What time? Day or night?
I don't know what, it was in the daytime.
Daytime.
The defendant speaking in slang languages that's making it really hard for the judge to understand, and it's somewhat funny to the people in the courtroom.
Do you $1,000 in cash or check?
Cash.
And what did you say to her when she gave you the money?
I'll holler at you later. I'll holler at you later.
Could you translate that for me?
He said, I'll call you later.
The judge is really confused with the vocabulary. It's like hearing a new language for the first time for her.
So I can be familiar with it.
Holla.
I do them a little better.
What?
Holla.
Oh, holla?
I'll holla.
And when for the first time did she ask you for this money back?
A long time.
Well, eventually after the loan, the debtor has to start paying up, but unfortunately, we live in a society that doesn't prioritize debts. And hey, guess what? He didn't seem to prioritize it either, so she had to ask for it herself.
Meant to where you were.
Now, she ran up on me talking about where my money at.
And what did you say to her?
I said, man, I ain't got nothing for you.
How many times did she ask you for her money back?
She ran up on me a few times.
Did she ever run up on you at the clubhouse?
Yes.
The defendant counterclaims, saying the plaintiff disrespected him at the bikers club where he seemed to be the leader, and after that, his position as the head of the club was placed in jeopardy.
So you have a, what? I don't make this thing up. How could you make this up? He's suing her for slander and assault because she knocked his hat off. If you don't want to be treated like a baby, sir, how old are you?
54.
This is the part that confuses me. The man's a freelance truck driver, and he's got several trucks at his disposal, but he found it too difficult to pay her back her money after months of borrowing. It had to reach the point of getting the law involved for them to return it. That's really uncalled for.
What trouble did you get into? Mr. Dixon, you must not do well with the trucks.
No, this just started like a couple of weeks and months ago or something like that.
Judging for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000.
Two former roommates find themselves in court after several disagreements. The plaintiff suing her roommate for the return of rent and security deposit, moving expenses, and storage fees.
Before you moved in together, where were you living?
I was living with my mom.
Prior to living with your mother, you were living with your boyfriend.
Correct.
How long were you living with your boyfriend?
About a year and a half.
And when did you break up with him?
We broke up like in August.
You have a child?
The two of them worked together and they hit it off as friends. Well, they were close enough for her to reach out for help when the plaintiff's mom kicked her out. And then that's when their roommate relationship began.
You were not on the lease.
I was an occupant.
You were allowed to be there, but you were not a signatory to the lease.
Right.
And there came a time when the defendant changed the locks on the door.
That's correct.
Had you ever, during the course of your lease,
Something had happened that no one had given a definite answer to, and by the questions the judge is asking, it's got something to do with the plaintiff's boyfriend.
is not an answer. Did he ever enter the apartment with your key, with your permission?
No.
That's incorrect.
Right. Did your ex-boyfriend ever enter the apartment with your permission, with your key?
No.
Go.
If they happened. It doesn't make any sense. It's weird when you're living with someone else, but to make it worse is the fact that the plaintiff never keeps a record of the situations. The defendant claims she'll text her multiple times, but she'll never answer.
Times did your boyfriend come into the house?
Yeah, he never let himself in.
Yeah, I don't believe you. Because now we had an ex-boyfriend that we weren't getting along. Then you moved back in with your mom, and all of a sudden you're living on your own, and the boyfriend is back in the apartment. That's what the argument was about with her. And
she's not willing to tell the truth. She confided in the defendant about a time when her boyfriend put hands on her, but in court, she's denying it ever happened.
And had been abusive to you.
He actually put hands on her in the apartment, and I heard everything. He took off before I actually saw him, but she was crying, and we had already been arguing. We've gotten to many altercations before.
They were roommates, and they had a lot of problems, and that also included monetary problems like the payments of bills and security deposits.
I want my last month's rent.
Just a second, which last month's rent? The month of what?
Well, I paid first and last months to move in.
The last month's rent, you paid first and last.
Right, and a security deposit. She said that I had to pay more for the security deposit because I had a son and he was going to ruin things.
So the defendant changed the locks. I mean, I can't blame her. Retrospectively, boyfriends have been coming in without permission or a heads up.
Paid.
I don't know how much it was.
I gave her the $3,000.
$600. Okay, now, money owed for destroyed property, lost wages, and an emergency room bill. I'm interested in this assault that you said took place.
Yes, so she came home.
On the plaintiff's birthday is the day it came to an interlude. The plaintiff started to look for her skincare products and who else to accuse but her roommate.
They end up, and your belongings given back to me. And I asked her, are you trying to accuse me of this? And this is in front of her son. And she said, no, I'm not. Just if you find it and your stuff, just give it back to me. I'm like, I did not take your stuff.
The plaintiff started to get angry, which is understandable as she's just lost her stuff, but where she made the mistake is when she put her hands on the defendant.
I'd like to see it. You have a police report?
I just have an incident number. They said if I have questions, just call them. This is my after visit summary.
May I see it?
This is my
None of that happened.
medical records.
On what day did this happen?
I forget the date.
You mean, how could you
It's
forget
on,
a date?
it's on there.
I know it's on here. I'm asking you, what date did it happen on?
I think it was April 18th. It was on a Sunday.